Hello and welcome to the Business Talk podcast. I am your host Deepak. We are thrilled to welcome the distinguished Professor Nirmalya Kumar to our podcast episode today. Dr. Nirmalya Kumar is the Lee Kong Chian Professor of Marketing at Singapore Management University and a former head of strategy at Tata Sons, where he reported directly to the chairman of the $100 billion Tata Group. Professor Kumar has taught at the top institutions like Columbia University, Harvard Business School, London Business School, IMD, and Kellogg, and is recognized as one of the world's leading experts in strategy and marketing. Professor Kumar also been visiting academic at INSEAD, ISB Hyderabad, BITSOM, and Judge Cambridge Business School. A sought after consultant, he has worked with over 50 Fortune 500 companies across 60 countries and has served more than 12 corporate boards. Dr. Kumar is also a Thinkers50 Hall of Fame inductee. In this episode, Professor Nirmalya Kumar offers valuable insights from his latest book, Clash: Amazon versus Walmart. Through a deep dive into the business models of these two giants, Professor Kumar sheds light on the broader dynamics of incumbents facing off against disruptors such as Volkswagen and Tesla and Marriott versus Airbnb. He has also explored the shift towards omni-channel retail where physical stores and online platforms must find a way to coexist. Professor Nirmala Kumar, we are truly honored and delighted to have you on the podcast.
It's my pleasure.
Professor Kumar, could you begin by explaining the key differences in the business models of Amazon and Walmart and what makes this rivalry so significant in the retail industry?
So, this rivalry is not only significant for the retail industry, but also for business in general, because incumbents, traditional incumbents, whether it's a Volkswagen or whether it's a Marriott Hotel or whether it's any of these companies, are under attack from these new disruptive models like Uber and Airbnb, as well as Tesla. Now, the big difference between the two is that while they are both in retailing, and one is, of course, an internet retailer primarily, and the other is a bricks and mortar retailer primarily, the big difference is that one is a product based model. It's a model where you sell a product, you have a margin built in, and based on that margin, multiplied by the volume is your total profits. The models which are platform models, whether they're Airbnb, whether they're Uber, whether they're Amazon, are in a different quality of models, including Meta and Google. What they do is they are basically more of a fixed cost model. There's a fixed cost of setting up the business, then there is a small cost of running the business, and additional customers can be accommodated for almost zero marginal cost. So that once I have my platform set up, the marginal cost of increasing the volume is relatively limited. So in the platform model, what we are trying to do, we are trying to make it easy for people to interact with each other who are on the platform, both suppliers and buyers. Whereas in a product model, we are trying to just attract customers and we don't worry so much about the suppliers because the suppliers are there for the taking. So the very big difference is that today more and more businesses are going into platform models rather than product models. And even Walmart itself is evolving. Out of its $650 billion in sales, now about 100 billion comes from internet retailing, which is the classic platform model. So while these models initially are very distinct, over time what we are observing is that the traditional players are learning how to compete with their platform and new incumbents, and they're basically copying certain aspects of disruptors, which allows them to become omni-channel faster than perhaps even the disruptors. So Amazon is a great internet retailer, but in terms of succeeding with bricks and mortar stores, despite its acquisition of Whole Foods, has had very limited success. Whereas Walmart, on the other hand, has managed to, including with its acquisitions, managed to transform itself into an internet retailer or a multi-channel retailer in a much superior manner. So, in a sense, as an omni-channel retailer, Walmart has made greater strides than Amazon has. Amazon is still dominating the online retail business, but they have not really succeeded very much in the bricks and mortar. On the other hand, Walmart has dominated the bricks and mortar business and has managed to build $100 billion online retail business.
Very insightful, Professor. Thank you. Professor, you have mentioned in your book both Amazon and Walmart have set benchmarks in areas like IT, supply chain, data analytics. So, how has this company shaped industry best practices and what lessons can other businesses take from their strategies?
So when people say we are very good at supply chain or we are very good at IT systems or customer analytics, one has to remember that customer analytics is not a new thing. Okay, this in the 1980s, Walmart was famous for saying that their information system, their computer system, was second only in size to the Pentagon. And if you were a PhD in physics in America, you could either work for NASA or you could work for Walmart. That is how sophisticated they were in the late 1980s already. Now, the only thing is that there's a difference. The difference is the supply chain excellence of Walmart is dedicated and built around delivering individual packages to homes of consumers. The supply chain of Walmart, which is an incredibly mechanized and analytical supply chain and very, very sophisticated, is optimized. Amazon is excellent at moving individual items and delivering it to home. Walmart is excellent at moving boxes from suppliers to stores. So the supply chain is optimized for different. Same thing with customer data. The customer data of Amazon is optimized for looking at individual customers and deciding what should they buy next. The information systems of Walmart are focused on what should be stocked in the store with the minimum amount of inventory, how can we maximize sales so that we can get a higher inventory turn. So that's why you see even today, Walmart's inventory turnover is superior to Amazon's inventory turnover if you just compare their retailing operations. You see, so they're both very sophisticated players. So when you're building an information system, when you're building a supply chain, you have to think about what is the objective of the supply chain, and based on that you will build different supply chains. So if you look at Zara, again, completely different supply chain built for fashion, where things sell for a little while and they're pulled out after 3 months because the season is over.
Okay. In Clash, you explore how incumbents like Walmart compete with disruptors like Amazon. How does this rivalry compare to other industries such as Volkswagen versus Tesla or Marriott versus Airbnb?
So firstly, you have to remember that when the disruptor comes, they will get one share of the business, and their share of the business is increasing faster than the traditional makers, right? That is for sure. Having seen that, we have seen that all the car manufacturing companies have very quickly evolved to becoming hybrid and electric cars, right? Even Tata Motors is producing electric cars, Volkswagen is producing electric cars, General Motors is producing electric cars. Toyota, of course, has always been very big in hybrid, right? So what you have to understand is that if the model of the disruptor is one that can be evolved by the traditional incumbent, then they make the change. If it cannot be evolved, then it's a different matter. But there is still a market for the Marriott hotel, which is the business customer. The market for the leisure customer, they have to concede increasingly to Airbnb. But that doesn't mean that both can't coexist. Sometimes they can't coexist. For example, CDs versus records, records had to die out. Streaming versus CDs, CDs had to die out. Okay, there's still a CD business and a record business, but it's less than 1% of the total market. So sometimes incumbents cannibalize the value proposition. Sometimes disruptors cannibalize the value proposition of the incumbent. At other times, they are cannibalizing to some extent, but they're complementary to a large extent. So because of online retailing, yes, it is true that bricks and mortar retailing has become flat and is growing slowly. But it doesn't mean there's no need for bricks and mortar. If you are making your cup of tea and you run out of milk, then you still go to the 7-Eleven downstairs. If you are at the duty free, if you are at the airport, you still go to the duty free store. You're not going to look for online retailing then. If you want the cheapest price, you still go to an Aldi and a Lidl. It cannot be given to you by the online retail, right? So there is a role for online retailing and there's a loan for physical retail. So we just have to see that as the disruptor comes, are they going to displace our model or they're going to be complementary to our model? You see, that is the big lesson. And for many of the companies which are complementary, they still continue to exist. Yes, they're not as sexy. They don't grow as fast as they used to grow in the face of the disruptor, but there is still a role for them because they have a value proposition that does something other than the disruptor's value proposition. And there's a market for that, and there's a market for this. Both places there is a market. Just because we can see movies on Netflix doesn't mean that theaters have all gone bankrupt. Yes, it's not such a sexy business anymore. It's not growing so fast anymore. It's not as profitable as it used to be, but there is still a role for the movie theater.
Beautifully crafted. One of the major shift you discuss is the move towards omni-channel retail. So how are Walmart and Amazon managing this balance between physical stores and online platforms, and what challenges do they face?
Yeah. So for Amazon has clearly demonstrated over the years that they are not very good at running bricks and mortar stores, though they have Whole Foods, it's still a very small percentage of their total sales. I think they realize that we are in a niche, we are in a segment of the business which is growing very fast. So why should we even bother with bricks and mortar? So I think that's their conclusion after having tried many different experiments, all of which failed. Okay. In the case of traditional retailers like Walmart, they have no choice but to go online. Otherwise, their volume goes down dramatically because the customer today expects that I should be able to get both. Now, it is true that the online sales of Walmart will be loss making, whereas the offline sales of Walmart in bricks and mortar stores are profit making. So, to some extent, the offline channel is subsidizing the online channel. But the hope is that because of this online channel that Walmart has, they will start having an advertising business that they can support, which has already become about $3-4 billion and has a profit margin of 90% plus. So the hope is that we will find other sources of income to compensate for the losses on the online channel, because online retailing in general, for the kind of products that Amazon and Walmart sells, is not a profitable business on its own. It's only the advertising that perhaps can get it to break even. Perhaps. Not sure it can, but perhaps.
Yeah. This year, Amazon is anticipated to surpass Walmart as world's largest company. So, what factors have led to this, and how do you foresee Walmart responding to this shift?
So Walmart has already responded by adding a lot of online retail. 100 with $100 billion in online retail sales, Walmart is today the second largest online retailer in the world after Amazon. Okay, whether Amazon will surpass Walmart's sales this year is not entirely clear, but if it doesn't happen this year, it will happen next year or the year after. So that's not the big deal. So they will have the sales, but both will continue to coexist, with Walmart dominating the offline channel with some online sales, and Amazon dominating the online channel with businesses other than that, like AWS is a very big business for them, and clearly Amazon Prime is a very big business for them, as well as advertising.
Both companies have relied heavily on technology to drive the growth. In your opinion, how has technology like artificial intelligence, automation, and machine learning played a role in the success of both Amazon and Walmart?
So anytime you're dealing with lots of data, you see, when you have sales of $600 billion plus, and the average sale may be what, $40, $50, you have a lot of sales. So the data that you are generating is incredible amounts of data. No human being can compute that data. You have to use automated. So when you go to the Amazon website and you log in, they show you the recommended products. It's not like somebody sitting behind and saying, what recommended product should Deepak see? It's not possible because they have 100 millions, hundreds of millions of customers coming and logging in every day. So what it is basically they have a, I'm going to describe it very simply, a giant correlation matrix. All the products they sell are on the x-axis, all the products they sell are on the y-axis, and the matrix is filled with the correlation between the sales of the different products. So when you come online, they see what 10 products you bought before in your lifetime. Based on that, they see what is the next most highly correlated product that people who bought those 10 products in the past bought. And that's what they recommend to you. It's called collaborative filtering, right? And of course, this is done by, you know, automated systems. You cannot do it manually. It's not possible to do it manually, right? So that's the same thing with Walmart. They have 10,000 plus stores. How to decide? And they have 100,000 items per store. 10,000 stores, 100,000. How do I decide which item to order today? You can't decide it with a manual system. You have to decide it automatically, right? So there is a algorithm at the back which is basically learning all the time, and based on this algorithm it says this store needs this product, informs the supplier, please send. You see, so these are two different ways. Again, I said one is about store fulfillment and the other is about consumer recommendation and consumer fulfillment. But you have to have increasingly artificial intelligence. But even before artificial, for the last 40 years, it's been automated systems that have been doing this, because you cannot physically do this. It's not possible to physically, manage this kind of large database systems.
Very interesting. With increasing focus on sustainability, How are Amazon and Walmart addressing their environmental and social responsibilities? Which company do you think is taking a more proactive approach in this regard?
So, you know, both companies struggle with sustainability. One company will always struggle more. The more online sales you have, the more you will struggle with sustainability. And the answer to that is very straightforward. When I go as a customer to the store and buy 10 products, it's a lot more sustainable than if they send me 10 products and 10 deliveries. You see, one. Secondly, when I go and collect the product from the store, I have one bag in which I put everything. That bag does not have to be very strong because I can just put it, it can be reusable, and I can just put it in my car and come home. But when it is mailed to me, every product has to be double packed and triple packed, then put in a box, right? Plastic is not so much in retailing, but if you go off retailing into the other parts of the gig economy like food delivery, there's a huge if you have ever ordered food at home from a Deliveroo or any of these companies, you will see the amount of plastic that comes with the food. And if you had gone eaten at home or eaten at the restaurant, there would be none of that plastic involved. So these models of delivery to the home are both from a traffic perspective, sustainability, right? Now you have many more vehicles on the road because of these models. You have many more vehicles because of Uber on the road. People take less public transportation. So all of that means that the sustainability part of the new gig economy has been quite a deleterious effect. But as yet, we have not yet fully comprehended that. So I don't think consumers are fully aware, public policymakers are not fully aware of the sustainability implications of gig economy. And the sustainability implications of gig economy are not very good. Uber is not good compared to public transportation. Eating at home or going to eat at a restaurant is not as good as having a vehicle come to deliver the food to you with a lot of plastic. So I think they have not, so they are trying to address it. They're trying to lump deliveries together. They're trying to use more paper. I now get Amazon packaging, or I just got an Amazon delivery today when I came home to London. The packaging was more and more paper and cardboard and less plastic. But even then, cardboard, there's still a lot of waste, right? The whole package
Right.
was filled with more paper inside. And then
Yes.
there was plastic inside, which were the individual items. So the sustainability aspect of this gig economy is not really a very good news story.
Okay. Yeah.
There's
Uh,
no way for me to put lipstick on this pig.
sure. So, as both companies expand into emerging markets, how do their strategies differ? What challenges do Amazon and Walmart face in these markets, and who is a better position to success globally?
So you see, there to say how these companies play in the emerging markets is really not a question that can be addressed very easily because there's no such thing as an emerging market. There's only India, there's China, there's Indonesia, there's Burma, Myanmar, then there's Bangladesh, there's Pakistan. These are the major emerging markets, and Nigeria, right? These are the 5 or 10 major emerging markets in the world, right? Now, in China, of course, these companies are not doing well because Walmart was a very early entrant into China in the early 1990s, late 1990s, and they have struggled. Their one format, which is Sam's Club, is doing well, but the original Walmart format is being undercut and is not doing well. Amazon went into with great enthusiasm into China, but it did not succeed in China because China has their own players which are very well off. So really, the emerging market that both these players are focused on, for the most part, is India. So really, the game right now between these two players, at least in the emerging markets, is India focused. It's not because China, they have their own companies, so they're not really. Walmart is there to some extent with Sam's Club, but it's not really a big story for them. So it's really an India story. And India, both of them are trying very hard. Amazon is trying with its own company, and Walmart is trying through its acquisition of Flipkart. Uh, both the companies, for the moment, for the 15 years that they've been there, have no money to show for it. They've only poured money in. They've lost a lot of money in, and they're losing a lot of money continuously.
Yeah. Professor Kumar, a last question. Finally, for business leaders looking to navigate the competitive retail landscape, what key takeaways can they apply from your analysis or research of Amazon versus Walmart?
So, two, three big things. One is that there will always be a role for physical retail. alongside with online retail, but you have to understand your proposition. If you're a duty free store, you're a convenience store giving the fastest, you're a Aldi type store giving the cheapest, you're a store that gives an experience like Apple or Nike, the flagship stores, or Zara, where you have new fashions coming every day, and there will always be a role for the physical store provided you have a good proposition. Okay, there will be a role. Secondly, online retailing for expensive products is a profitable business. Online retailing for everyday products is not a profitable business, and the only way to make it profitable is through advertising revenues. Even Amazon only realized that 5 years ago. Before that, they thought they could make money in online retailing. It's only 5 years ago, after pivoting many times, they've come to the conclusion that advertising is where the money is, and this year their advertising revenues will be 60 billion. After Meta and Google, they are now the biggest player in the digital advertising business world. Now, what what it tells you is that just like Facebook gives you social media for free and sells your eyeballs, Google gives you search for free and sells your eyeballs, Amazon is giving you online retailing for free and selling your eyeballs. In the end, if you are getting a product for free, you are the product being sold. In online retailing like Amazon, there's losses 50 cents for every dollar of sales. So that 50 cents we have to make up through advertising. So that's the second big lesson. The third big lesson to remember is that this question of, is the disruptor going to cannibalize your business, or are they going to be complementary? Until we understand that, we don't know that. And thirdly, and lastly, you have seen that incumbents like Walmart can compete and survive and even grow. Walmart has grown quite well over the last 20 years. In the time that Amazon added $400 billion of sales, Walmart also added the $400 billion of sales. Okay, but of course the growth rate was lower because they were starting from a base where they were starting from zero, right? So the growth rate was lower, but still there is a role for the traditional incumbent if it can learn the digital transformation game. And clearly Amazon has learned the digital transformation game. Clearly the auto companies have realized that our core capabilities as a traditional player, branding, dealerships network, distribution network, servicing, may have value also in the electric car business. You see, so it's not that they don't have value. So if that is true, then of course you have a role for that. But if you're selling a digital product like software or music or movies, then of course the digital players like Blockbuster and all go out of business because there's no reason for you to go to those places, right? But the movie theater still exists because when I want to have the excitement of dressing up and going out for a date, I have to go to a movie theater. I don't get the same experience at home. When I want the big screen immersive experience in 3D, I have to go to the movie theater for the moment. Maybe in the future it will be different with Google Glasses, but for the moment I have to, right? So we have to understand from the customer's perspective always, what is the proposition of the disruptor and how does it play with the incumbent's proposition? Is there a segment for both, or is one segment dying and the other segment is going to win?
Professor Nirmalya Kumar, we are truly grateful for your time and wealth of knowledge you have shared with our listeners. It's been a privilege having you on the podcast. To our audience, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to grab a copy of Professor Nirmalya Kumar's book Clash, Amazon versus Walmart, for a more in-depth exploration of these topics. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. Thank you, Professor Nirmalya Kumar, for joining with us.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you to everybody who joined us.